What if I told you that your dream job could already be yours before the company even knows your name? Before the interview, before the referral, before the offer letter, before there is even a single sign in your physical reality. Today's success story is a powerful reminder that you are not waiting for your reality to change. You are the one creating it. And this person's story is going to show you exactly what can happen when you stop treating your desire like something you're hopping to get and start treating it like something that has already happened. Welcome back to Real Life Manifestations, where we share real manifestation success stories and break down the mindset and assumptions behind them. And remember, we're sharing someone else's success story here, but the lesson behind it could completely change the way you approach your own manifestations. This person said they had been a powerful manifester for almost a year, and during that time, almost everything they wanted seemed to manifest insanely quickly. They had already learned a lot about manifesting love, and that part of their life had manifested beautifully. But when it came to their dream job, they realized they needed to ground themselves in a completely new reality, the reality where they already had the job they wanted. And this is where they used one simple tactic inspired by Neville Goddard's teachings. Instead of constantly thinking about getting the job in the future, they started speaking about it as though it had already happened. The idea was to make the desired experience feel like a memory rather than a possibility. By speaking from the assumption that it was already done, they were training their mind and subconscious to accept that reality as something natural and familiar. Whenever they had some free time, they would ask themselves questions. They would say, "Who has their dream job?" And then they would literally scream, "Me." Then they would ask, "Whose dream company is looking for her?" And again, they would answer, "MY Dream Company." They would ask, "Who gets what she always wants?" And the answer was, "Me." Then they would ask, "Who gets unadvertised roles open just for her?" And once again, "Me." They weren't asking these questions because they were waiting for an answer from the outside world. They were using those questions to reinforce an identity. They were repeatedly telling themselves who they were in the reality they wanted to experience. And they also visualized receiving the job offer. They imagined the experience so vividly and so perfectly that it eventually began to feel like an actual memory. Even though the offer had not appeared in the 3D yet, the experience had become real enough in their mind that it no longer felt like some distant fantasy. And then something happened that they could never have planned themselves. Their dream company's senior associate literally noticed their LinkedIn profile on his own. The moment they saw that he had noticed them, they sent him an invitation, and he accepted immediately. They reached out to him, and within the first minute of their conversation, he gave them his number. They spoke, and then he told them he would refer them. And then, boom. They got the interview incredibly quickly. And this was not some company that was easy to get into. They specifically emphasized that getting into this company was difficult. Yet suddenly, the opportunity was moving toward them in a way that seemed almost effortless. Then came the interview. And it went so fucking well. And after all of that, there it was. The thing they had been imagining, speaking about, and accepting internally before it ever showed up physically. Their offer letter. Their dream job. And the craziest part, the company was willing to pay them exactly the figure they had manifested. Not just the job, not just the company, the exact figure they had imagined receiving. Their work was scheduled to start in November, and they said they were literally the happiest and most confident they had ever been. This experience gave them an incredible sense of certainty that they could do anything and have anything they wanted in this lifetime. And that is why this story is so powerful. Because when you look at it from the outside, you could say, well, they just happened to notice their LinkedIn profile. You could say, the senior associate just happened to accept the invitation. You could say, the referral just happened. You could say, the interview just happened to go well. But manifestation success stories often look exactly like that from the outside. The person imagines the end, assumes it is already theirs, and then the physical world begins arranging itself through a series of events that they may never have been able to predict. They didn't need to figure out how the company would find them. They didn't need to know which employee would notice them. They didn't need to know how they would get around the difficulty of entering the company. They didn't need to plan every step between imagination and the offer letter. They focused on the end. They repeatedly told themselves that they were the person who already had the dream job. They visualized the offer until it felt familiar. They spoke as though it had already happened. And then they persisted. That last part is important because sometimes we think manifestation should always feel effortless. We assume that if we have to persist, something must be wrong. But persistence doesn't necessarily mean forcing something to happen. It can simply mean continuing to return to the assumption you have chosen instead of allowing your current circumstances to convince you otherwise. Your 3D reality might not immediately show you evidence. You might apply for a job and hear nothing. You might look at your bank account and see the same number. You might look at your relationship and see circumstances that seem completely opposite to what you want. You might have absolutely no idea how your desire could possibly happen. And that is exactly where the temptation to give up usually appears. But your current circumstances are not the final chapter. If you have already decided what you want, you don't need to constantly check whether it is coming. You don't need to obsess over the middle. You don't need to figure out every single step. You can return to the end. Ask yourself, who already has the dream job? And answer it. Me. Who works for their dream company? Me. Who gets exactly what they want? Me. Who gets opportunities that seem to appear out of nowhere? Me. The point isn't simply to repeat words mechanically. The point is to begin identifying with the version of yourself for whom the desire is already normal. Because imagine the difference between saying, "I hope I get my dream job," and saying, "I already have my dream job." One keeps the desire somewhere in the future. The other places you mentally in the reality where it is already accomplished. And that was exactly what this person was practicing. They weren't waiting for the offer letter to finally allow themselves to feel like the person who had the dream job. They started becoming that person internally first. They made it familiar. They made it natural. They made it feel like a memory. And eventually, their physical reality caught up with what they had already accepted internally. Now, this doesn't mean you have to sit around doing nothing. You can still apply for jobs, attend interviews, send LinkedIn invitations, talk to people, improve your resume, learn new skills, and take practical action. But you don't have to make those actions responsible for creating the outcome. You can allow them to become part of the bridge that leads you to the outcome you have already accepted. And that's what makes this story so exciting. The person didn't know that a senior associate would notice their LinkedIn profile. They didn't know he would accept immediately. They didn't know that within the first minute he would give them his number. They didn't know he would offer to refer them. They didn't know the interview would happen so quickly. They didn't know the interview would go so well. And they certainly didn't know the company would offer them exactly the figure they had manifested. They simply held the end. And the bridge unfolded. So if you're currently manifesting something that feels completely impossible, don't let the absence of evidence convince you that nothing is happening. You don't know what is moving behind the scenes. You don't know who is about to receive your name, see your profile, make a decision, send a message, open a door, or create an opportunity you couldn't have planned yourself. You only know what you have decided is yours. And according to this success story, that's exactly what happened. Their dream job went from something they wanted, to something they imagined, to something that felt like a memory, to something that became physical reality. And now they're starting that job in November. So remember this the next time you feel tempted to check the 3D every 5 minutes and ask, where is it? Instead, ask yourself, who already has it? And answer, me. Because sometimes the biggest shift isn't getting your manifestation. It's becoming so certain that it is already yours that you stop treating it like something you still need to chase. You are the absolute creator of your reality. Your circumstances don't get to decide what is possible for you. Your current situation doesn't get the final word. And you don't need to know exactly how your desire is going to happen. You just need to persist in the reality you have chosen. As this person said at the end of their story, it can feel challenging when you're trying to manifest something seemingly out of thin air. But all you have to do is persist, persist, and persist, because it's yours. So if you have a dream job, dream relationship, dream home, financial goal, or any other desire that currently looks impossible, stop asking whether it can happen. Start asking who you are when it has already happened. See yourself there. Speak from there. Feel it as familiar. Let it become normal in your mind. And then persist. Because you never know how quickly your reality can rearrange itself once you stop identifying with the version of you who is waiting and start identifying with the version of you who already has it. This has been Real Life Manifestations. If this story gave you even a little more faith in your own ability to create your reality, don't just listen to it, apply the lesson. Choose your end, return to it again and again, and let the bridge unfold without needing to control every step. And remember, your manifestation doesn't need to make sense before it becomes yours. Sometimes the most unbelievable part is simply watching the impossible become your normal. Your dream reality isn't asking you to figure everything out. It is asking you to believe that it is already yours. So persist, persist, and persist, because it's yours.